Okay. Awesome. All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to this webinar. Appreciate you all jumping on. I know it's a long weekend and I know the weather's not so great and everyone's rushing around to the supermarkets and stuff. So I appreciate you guys jumping on. Also, appreciate everyone watching this. There's a lot of people that have requested our meeting link and can't make it tonight. So we'll be sending them a recorded copy. So hello to you. My name's Amrit. I am calling from my house in New Plymouth where I grew up. I went to New Plymouth Boys High here, but now live up in Auckland where we've got our office in Newmarket, but back here for the Easter weekend. I also came back because I am my mum's favorite child, so I had to come back and make sure I was spending good time with her. This webinar is an exciting one. We've never done one specifically for track and field. We've been operating for about 10 years now, helping athletes all around New Zealand, in Australia, and even abroad in other countries like Germany, the Czech Republic, the UK, India, and so on. And it's the first time we've actually done a specific track and fields webinar. So I'm really excited here. And we're joined by the lovely Tamara Reeves. Tamara is someone that's now working with our company. She reached out to me last month and I read her resume and I was like, wow, I need to get her on our team. She is a Kiwi. She's Christchurch based, competed in the US, and the purpose of this webinar is to share her story, give you guys a lot of information about college. By the end of this webinar, you'll know how the college system works. You'll know the tips and tricks of the trade. You'll also know like if this is the right thing for you, because I'm not a recruitment agency where I try and tell everyone to go to the US. That's not necessarily the case. It isn't for everyone. And I just want to give you guys the knowledge, the education, and insight into what college is like so you can make that decision for yourself. And just as an example, my brother is New Zealand's #1 tennis player. He was top 60 in the world as a junior, had about 50 offers from massive schools like Stanford, UCLA, to name a few. And this was back in 2017. And he decided not to go because it wasn't for him. So it's your decision, your journey, but hopefully by the end of this webinar, you know a lot more about it. And then at the end, if this is something that you're kind of interested in, we can get you guys to speak to Mara directly, and we'll give out your private booking link. But let's introduce the host. Let's let her talk a little bit, and I'll keep quiet. Tamara, thank you for joining us, and tell us about yourself.
Hi, so I'm Tamara. I am based in Christchurch and I went over to the States for the last 5 years. I spent 2.5 years at a school in Arkansas called Central Arkansas. And then I transferred to another school called the University of Tulsa. And I had an incredible time over there. Obviously, there is some highs and lows that come with going over to the States for schools, but it's something that I was really lucky and fortunate and glad I got the opportunity to do. When I started athletics, I was not very good and I did not think I would be competing on the other side of the world or anything like that. So I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity.
Awesome. So, Tamara, let's talk about your journey as an athlete. So, who introduced you to the sport? What do you specialize in? And was there any moment in time during your high school career where you're like, you know what, I want to go to the US?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I specialize in some of the distance events. I run the 1500, 3K, and 5K, and some cross country. So when you're in America, that means you're competing in the cross country, indoor, and outdoor season. So you're all year round, keeping you very busy. I started in athletics when I was 13, and you had to do every event at my club. And I probably came last in every event except the distance races. But I have a twin sister, so I was like always kind of a nice little competition who would actually get last out of the two of us because that's at least something I could win. So we would always have a nice little healthy rivalry between us. And then when I was in high school, I started hearing about some girls from my club, and she was going over to the States. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, she's going to go over and compete and travel and race and get an education and everything. Like, that sounded like something really interesting to me. So I was able to talk with her about it and just hear about it. But that was the first time I'd ever even thought about like anything to do with going overseas to compete. And I was so interested. Like, that sounded like the best thing you could possibly do, like to be able to experience that. So yeah.
Awesome. And how old are you? And at what stage in the process did you start reaching out to college coaches, or how did that work for you?
Yeah. So I was like 16 probably when I first started like hearing about it. And she was a couple years older than me, so she was about to go over to the States. and I felt like I talked with her a lot, just like having another connection and having someone to help you through that process was super helpful, because the NCAA system is huge. There's so much you don't know, like everything's so unknown. So having someone to like talk me through some of the things made it a little bit easier. So through that, I was able to talk to her coach, and I ended up going to that school that she was at as well. But I also just started reaching out to a lot of coaches and finding like a lot of people weren't going to respond to me. I was trying to like DM some on Instagram, reach out to them on emails. But after a while, I was like, I want something that's a little bit more comfortable, which having someone you know already like experiencing that was something that I felt was really important for me. So I was able to follow in her footsteps, which was really nice.
Awesome. That's amazing. And as Tamara said, there's so many options in the US. So for those that don't know much about the college system, and I know there's a few, I know there's Max Lure, one of our athletes listening and tuning in. Shout out to Max and his dad, Nathan. But college it's complex. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So when you finish high school in New Zealand, you got three options. You can stay in New Zealand and attend a university. You could go into trade, or you can go compete overseas like the US and try and compete for a university. And in return, they give you scholarships, which reduces the cost of going to the US. And in some cases, you're not paying anything. You go to America for 4 years. So you start in August after your year 13, or if you're in Australia, I know there's a few Australians here. If you're after year 12, so your final year of high school, you go in August. And then the semesters go from August to December. That's the fall semester. There's like a 3-week break, a quick turnaround, and then you're back starting at the first couple of weeks of January. And you go from January to May. That's called the spring semester, where a lot happens in the track and field world. And you get 4 years in America. So you get 8 semesters of competing eligibility. So you get 4 years. However, you get an additional year called a redshirt year. This redshirt year is a year where you keep your scholarship, but you may not be competing for your college team. Some instances that may occur where you may be involved in this is maybe injuries. So if you get injured and you're out for majority of the season, and there's rules that the NCAA and the college system has to follow, you can keep your scholarship and still study, but you don't use any of your 4 years of eligibility. So you could be in the US for 5. Now, there's a number of different pathways in the US. The NCAA is the biggest sporting association in America that governs majority of the largest colleges in the United States. The NCAA were formed in the early 1900s. They've got about 1,200 universities that they govern as a sporting organization. These are 4-year universities. And within those 1,200 universities, I've got 3 different divisions. For a university to become a Division I member, there's a number of factors, but the main one is that the school has to finance at least 7 women's sports and 7 men's sports. For Division II in America, in the NCAA, the university just needs to finance at least 5 men's sports and 5 women's sports. And then for Division III, the universities need to finance 3 men's sports and 3 women's sports. The important thing to know here is Division I and Division II universities in the NCAA can offer you not only an academic scholarship, they can offer track and field scholarships and other sporting scholarships as well. Division III, because it's so small and they focus on private universities, which are very expensive, they don't have the ability to bring in large crowds to generate revenue like American football stadiums. So these universities in Division III do not provide any sports scholarships, only academic scholarships. There's a big misconception, and this is that people think that Division I is the best, Division II is the second best, and Division III is like the worst. That's not necessarily the case. Just because a university is big, it doesn't mean that it's better than a Division II school. I can talk from a tennis experience. In New Zealand, we've got the New Zealand Davis Cup tennis team. It's the top male tennis team that we use to compete against other countries around the world. And in the New Zealand Davis Cup team was my brother. There's a guy named Finn Reynolds. He went to Ole Miss, which is a great Division I school. One of our current clients, Jack Loutet, he's at University of Kentucky. They're top 10 in the country. He's in the Davis Cup team, and there's about 40 other tennis players in New Zealand that play in Division I right now. The 4th spot went to a Division II college tennis player named KP Panu, who's from Wellington. He went to Wellington College. He's a great kid. My dad used to coach him. So It's about trying to find the right fit. You've got some of the top academic schools in Division III. You've got MIT, NYU. An athlete that is a bit more academically focused and why they want to go to the US might navigate towards that pathway if they've got good grades to get an academic scholarship versus going to a D1 or D2. So that just gives you a bit of context. They're all fantastic pathways. It's just about trying to navigate that pathway according to your own best interest and making sure that you nail that. So that's the NCAA, 1,200 universities, 3 different divisions. There's a second organization called the NAIA. This is a smaller sporting organization that looks after 4-year universities, just like Vic Uni, Auckland University, etc. And this organization, they have got about 300 to 350 universities just in their system. They've got 2 sporting divisions, but the 2 sporting divisions only apply to American football and basketball. Every other sport, there's only 1 division in NAIA. So for tennis, track and field, swimming, etc., golf, there's only 1 division in the NAIA system. There's a third sporting organization called the NJCAA. This is called the Junior College System. It's a sporting governing body that looks after 2-year community colleges. The reason why people might attend a community college is maybe they don't have the academics to get into a 4-year university. They didn't do the right subjects in high school, which we will go into a little bit later. Maybe they didn't get the right GPA, etc. Or maybe their resume cannot earn them a substantial scholarship. Now, 4-year universities are expensive. Without a scholarship, they're 50 to 80,000 US dollars. It's crazy. Junior colleges without a scholarship is anywhere from 15,000 US dollars to 30,000 US dollars per year. So if you don't have a big sports CV that can earn you a substantial scholarship and you can't get much scholarship from a 4-year university and they're very expensive, so the balance is massive, you might want to attend a junior college for 2 years and be on a scholarship and compete on the track and field team as well. Shave that time down, improve your distances in whichever event you're specializing in. And then once that CV is big enough, you can transfer all of your credits over to a 4-year school like UCLA. And the best thing about it is that you don't have to repeat any years. You just do year 3 and year 4 at UCLA, and you would have graduated with a degree as if you were at UCLA for 4 years. So that gives you a brief introduction into the college system. Now, with knowing that, and everyone sort of might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed with that information, but that's fine. You guys have got my email. I sent all of you an email before. You've got Tamara's email. You can book consultations. We can walk you through this again. But Tamara, for you, what division did you go to and why did you choose the university of your choice?
Yeah, so I went to a Division I school for both of my schools, and I didn't have any idea about like any of the systems, Division I, 2, 3, like anything. I only knew about schools that people I had known personally who were going to. So I really didn't have any clue about any of it. So when I was like looking at schools, I kind of just reached out to what I already knew, and it wasn't a whole lot because when I went over to the States, I felt like a whole lot of people weren't doing it. It was definitely becoming more popular now. And the school I picked was a Division I school, but like if I didn't know that what that meant, I wouldn't have known any differently. So when I picked it, it was just very convenient for me because I knew someone who had already been there and what they were going through and if they liked it or anything. So I didn't really have to do any of like the hard work for myself necessarily, but it ended up working out well. And then I transferred to another Division I school, and that one was more open for me to pick and have a lot more options just because in that time I had improved a little bit more athletically and my options were very much more like schools were wanting to talk to me a lot more and stuff. So that made it a little bit easier. And when I went to pick my second school, I was really excited to find a team that I would more so be the bottom of. So then I had a lot of room to like grow and have people who are way faster than me, way better than me. Like they say, like surround yourself with 5 people you want to be like. So I was like, cool, I have over 5 people who are faster than me. This is great. So that was really nice to know, and being able to like go visit these schools and figure out what I actually wanted out of it. Because by the time I'd been at my first school, I had done 2.5 years there. So I kind of knew more about what I wanted out of a program.
Awesome. So Central Arkansas, was that your only offer initially at the end of year 13?
No, so I was offered like quite a few scholarships and stuff, spoke to like quite a lot of schools, but I just definitely wanted something. It is so far away from New Zealand, so I wanted something that was had someone there, so I had a little bit of extra support outside of like running or like school or anything, just like a little piece of home. So for me, that was just why I picked that one.
How was it meeting a college coach for the first time?
I was so scared to do like meet them online and like do a little video chat with them. So I have a twin sister, so I actually made her sit on the call and actually do it for me. And I sat on like the side and being like nodding, like smiling, like good, like keep saying stuff like
Wait, hang
that.
on.
Like
So have you got an identical twin?
yeah,
And she did the meeting.
yeah, I did not want to do it. Like she's definitely a little bit more social than me and a bit more outgoing. So she was like, "Yeah, I've got this. Like I can do that." And obviously her answers, she also runs as well. So her answers are probably the same answers I would give anyway. So I was like, "Great, this works kind of well for me." But that was just for the first one, and then after that, I was like, "Okay, I know what to expect. So now I think I can do it myself."
Did you ever come clean to your college coach that wasn't you in that first meeting?
No.
Okay.
Well, to be fair though, like I feel like you just would never know. Like they
Yeah.
wouldn't know things. So no,
I
definitely
am I am talking to Tamara right now, right? The people are listening to you, right?
not.
That is such a funny story. It's the first time I've heard that in 10 years. That is crazy. Um, but, like, you're so bubbly now. You're so outgoing now. I've seen how you've interacted with our team. Do you find that, like, your experience in the US created this totally different person, maybe a bit more confident in some, like, uncomfortable settings? Like, how was that for you?
No, totally. I feel like having a twin sister, I was always able to just kind of follow someone. But then when I went over, I'm like, hey, like you're on your own. You kind of have to figure out some things yourself and just become a bit more outgoing. And yeah, like I feel like it's just such a new experience, and like you get what you get out of it, like what you put into it. So like I wanted to get a great experience out of it, so I had to kind of forced to like become a little bit more outgoing. Even now though, like doing something like this still makes me a little nervous though.
No, you're doing great. You're doing awesome. Okay, you meet with your college coach. You're in Christchurch. You've done your second, third meeting. Now you've probably got a few more runs under your belt now because you've like spoken to other college coaches, and you've got your friend at Central Arkansas, which is kind of a supporting factor why you chose that program. You pack your bags. You say goodbye to your family. How was that feeling for you?
Oh, that was so scary, but like I was very lucky that I had someone who was already going to be there. So when I was getting picked up at the airport, I was getting picked up by someone I already kind of knew and everything. So that definitely helped. And we had a lot of internationals coming in at the same time. So it was really nice to be able to meet all of them before you were forced to like meet everyone else, because a lot of these people were having the exact same experience I was having, being like brand new, being in a new country, like everything like that. So that was definitely really helpful.
So from Christchurch to Arkansas, was that a culture shock for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I don't even know how to explain it. I remember arriving and just being like, "Whoa!" I'm like so taken back. Like I just had to sit there and like listen to people speak and like being like, "Okay, like just take everything in." Like, but then also you arrive so late. I'm like, "Guys, stop talking to me. I've got to go to sleep." It's like 40 degrees. I'm like, "What did I sign up for?"
Yeah. And I guess you went in August intake,
Yeah.
and so it would have been buzzing campus. There would be a lot of people moving into their dorms. Did
So
you have a good roommate, or did you have a single room?
no, so with my team, we had the cross country people had to arrive on campus a bit earlier, so there actually wasn't a lot of people on campus, just a lot of international students. So that was nice because it wasn't too chaotic to begin with. And then yeah, I had a really nice. I didn't have to live in dorms or anything, which is very common for freshmen to have to do. So that's something I didn't actually have to do. I got put in an apartment, which was very nice. I'm very grateful. The dorm experience is such a unique experience, though. Like, but I should have been with my sister. I was like, I'm good. Like, thank
Yeah.
you anyway. Yeah.
Awesome. So you arrive there, you're meeting your teammates that you've probably messaged on Instagram to like do that kind of thing. A lot of our kids do that. They Snapchat other athletes and
Yeah.
try to connect and FaceTime with them. You see them in person. How was it? How were they welcoming?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like they're all there for the same reason. They want to like run, they want to go to school and everything. So everyone kind of is in a similar boat, and that everyone just is so friendly and kind. I found at least, and yeah, it was great.
Did you have the same coach for a lot of your junior years in Christchurch?
Yeah, so since I started running when I was like 13, I did junior athletics, and then as soon as junior athletics finished when you're 14, I had the same coach from then until I left.
So how was it being coached by someone completely new?
I don't know. I feel like you kind of just have to like put trust in it because you're going to be there for such a long time. So like it was obviously a little bit weird, but like you knew you had to like commit to it, otherwise you weren't necessarily going to run very well or do very well. So like the coaches were great. The coach I ended up having as soon as I got there my freshman year was different than the coach that actually signed me. So and you only found out a couple of weeks before we arrived. So when I arrived, I was like, okay, I haven't really spoken to this coach a whole lot, but like he was the boys coach as well, and then he was taking over the girls program. So like we knew he was going to be really good, but it was just someone different than I had done all this communicating and bonding with like in the recruiting time. So that was a little bit of an interesting like adjustment and something I didn't expect when I got there, but it ended up being great. Like I started improving as soon as I got there, and like the coaches were so supportive, and they were really really nice with me coming from like New Zealand when it's winter and going over to the summer there and practicing in such hot weather. And every time I'm like, I swear I'm not slow. Like it's just so hot. I don't know how to run in this heat. I've never experienced humidity and like 40-degree weather and trying to run as fast as I can in it. Like it was such an adjustment.
I bet that's always tough being an athlete, because I guess America is so big. There's so many different climates. Like we've got a boy that's from Christchurch playing tennis at University of Montana right now. He's like 15 minutes from a ski field. But then we've got a tennis player from New Plymouth at a school in Texas, and it is cooking. It is so hot. So how did you manage to adjust to these different facilities, these states you were competing in?
Yeah, I feel like you just kind of had to be like everyone else is in the exact same boat. Like you're not doing anything different than anyone else. So like you really just had to be like, okay, like if they can run in that heat, I can run in that heat. Or like if they can drive for 10 hours to a race, like I can deal with that too. They've done it before. So you feel like you just kind of had to be like, okay, like take the best out of this, and do your best in that situation.
How was it like getting your equipment, seeing the facilities? Because we've got some great facilities in New Zealand. We got NZCIS, we got AUT Millennium. For athletes that are listening to this and parents that are listening to this that haven't had a chance to see a sporting facility, especially at a Division I program, what was that like? Can you paint us a picture of what it exactly was like for you going into that
Yeah,
first week?
yeah. Even like the first week we went to our first like workout or something, and it would have been on the track, and like just having your own like running track at your school, like that was crazy to me because in Christchurch we have one track, and you have to like pay to use it or anything like that, and like that every school just has their own one. I was like, oh wow, this is kind of crazy. And then like going into like the weight rooms, so like we had a really nice weight room that I had never even done weights before I went over there. I was like, I don't need to do that. That's fine. And when I got there, like everyone has to do weights. And having like a nutrition center, like you walk in and there's like snacks, like protein shakes, bars, fruit, anything like for you to have as soon as you finish a workout, like you had to get it in, like that kind of thing. It was crazy. Like I had never experienced anything like that. And you feel like almost like a little mini pro. You're like, wow, this is so cool. Like this is all set up for you to do well and succeed.
Do normal students get access to this gym, or is it only for like athletes on scholarship?
No, so it was just for like the people on the teams, and then yeah.
What was the size of this building? Is it like a City Fitness or like a small Snap Fitness or anything like that? What was it like?
No, they're like quite big. So like for my first school, our gym was attached to like the indoor football facility. So that's obviously huge already, just having a football facility. And then I don't even know. I don't go to the gym here very often. um, so I mean, it's really decent size. You have like 10 to 15 racks of just weights like down the halls and stuff. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Did you, in the sports facility, what else was in there? I know a lot of our students get access to like academic tutors, they do their study hall
Oh,
hours.
yeah.
Um,
So for my freshman year, yeah, my freshman year, I had to do study hall hours, which is really not as bad as it seems because you're going with all your
what
teammates
is
to
that?
study.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, no, totally. So for your first year, at least for my school, we had to do 6 hours of study hall. So it's just you have to clock in with your ID and be in this room studying for a certain amount of time each week. And it was just because it's such a new adjustment. They wanted to make sure you were on top of your studies and on top of like your athletic commitments because it is something you probably haven't had to juggle to this extent before. So yeah, you had to do that, and I had 6 hours, I think, my first semester, and then if your GPA was above a certain amount, so like your grades are good, you don't have to do it following. So it wasn't very bad at all. It
That's
was
good
kind
for
of fun.
though, because like it must be like a child in a candy shop when you go there and you see all of these facilities and you're meeting all these cool people on campuses and you sound different. You're from New Zealand. They don't probably talk to Kiwis or Australians, and it might take your attention away from your grade. So to have something in place to ensure that you're passing and to create an incentive for you to do well must be
Yeah.
a really good thing.
No, definitely. And like a lot of our grades get sent to our academic advisor. So like when I'm getting my results on whatever platform you're using at that time, like someone else is seeing that as well. So like, and if they see you slipping, they will reach out to you and like try and help you, like you with tutors, which they will help like with the cost of course, and like help you just in any way they can because they want you to succeed.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And what was it like getting all of your competing and casual clothing that's part of your scholarship? Was that fun?
Yeah, that was so exciting. You're like, okay, Christmas time's in August. It was great. So like, and just like seeing how much they would give you. Like, I went to two different schools. My first school was sponsored by Nike, so we got a whole lot of Nike gear. It was great. I can't even express how much I got. Like, I still would come home during the breaks and give it to like my family and friends. Like, I had so much stuff. And then my second school was sponsored by Adidas, and both of them had great gear. Like, you were given more than you possibly need, which is just so exciting. And you honestly, it would always make me so excited, like getting our new uniforms right before our first race of the year. Like it was great.
Awesome. That sounds really good. I've actually been to the States and seen what some of my athletes have got. And I actually get my athletes to sign a shirt and give it to me, and I've been collecting them. So I told Ronan. Ronan is one of our soccer players at University of Denver who just got drafted into the MLS. So I texted him. I said, "When are you coming back?" And he said he's coming back this year for Christmas because he's with Atlanta FC right now. And I said, "Can you please keep a spare shirt for me?" He goes, "I'll try because my mates are fighting for it." I said, "Bro, I've known you since you're year 11. Like, I want that shirt." And he's like, "Okay, okay." But that's awesome. Let's talk about the recovery rooms, the facilities.
Yeah.
Did you have that in Christchurch versus having that in the US? And what kind of recovery facilities did you have access to in the US?
Yeah, so that was all very new to me. I didn't do anything before I went over to the States, but when I went over there, you have athletic trainers. So they're usually you have a couple to your team, and they're of access to you before practice, after practice, during set times. Like we had a schedule set to us, and you could fill out when you wanted to go in, and in there they would like do needling, cupping, sports massages. There was like Normatec boots in there. There was like lots of like strength things as well in case you were injured to help you like recover and build back up after being injured, which is really nice. We had like hot tubs, cold tubs, um, and there's another nutrition center in there as well for like snacks as well after you leave there. And all of that was so new to me. Like there's such another part of running that I didn't even think about like incorporating into what I was doing already. So that was really, really nice to have.
Awesome. And we're just going to pause here before we continue. Everyone that's watching this, on the right-hand side of your screen, there'll be a little chat box. If you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in there and I'll ask Tamara for you. Okay, getting back to this now. What did a day in the life as a Division I athlete look like? This is a question that we've been getting asked heaps. So I would like to know this.
Okay, so I had two very different day in the lives from both schools. So at my first school, you would wake up, you would go to classes, and then you would start classes probably around 8, 9, so not super early, and then go to classes. We would go to the cafeteria for lunch, and I would always meet all my teammates, go to another class potentially, and then we would go to workout in the afternoon. So for me, that was a shock because it was so hot, and you were in the peak of the heat, like in the afternoons. So, and then after that, if it was like a workout day, we would have to go to weights as well. Um, and then you'd go back to the cafeteria, eat dinner, and then get to go home and do it all again. But then at my second school, we had practice at like when we got there for August time. We would get up at like 5:30 in the morning for practice, sometimes even earlier. It was a very early morning, but I think I almost preferred that because you were out of the peak of the heat. So it was a super early morning, but I feel like that was great in the time because I enjoyed it, and I was so excited to be in another country competing and everything. So you'd get up and people are like, oh, like we have to go for a run and stuff. And I was like, let's go. I'm so excited. Like, let's all run it. And everyone's like, tomorrow you're too loud in the morning. Like, go away. And I'm like, sorry. But I loved it. Getting up nice and early because you had the day started. And then I would go to some classes. We would either have weights or mobility in the afternoon. So like mobility is like a lot of like hurdle coordination work and like strengthening of your like your feet and things like that. Like just some extra like things to help prevent injuries. And then we would at my second school I didn't go to a cafeteria. I cooked all my own foods in my apartment, which is great. I like doing that a lot more. Yeah.
Awesome. And in terms of a day of a life of a Division I athlete traveling, what does
Oh yeah.
the traveling look like? So I know that's completely different. Does it involve communicating to your teachers or your professors? Like if you had assignments due, how did that
Mhm.
work? How did you get to the airport or was it a bus? Give us the rundown.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the semester, you will get given like your schedule of what races you're doing, at least in my experience. And then you would have to take that to your teachers and get them to like sign a piece of paper to be like, that's okay. They are aware that we're leaving during this period of time. I'm going to miss this exam or anything like that. And just that allows them to be like, oh, they know that you're away. So they can't be like, okay, you're missing the exam. That's not okay. So they have to set up a separate time for you to do this work, and they can't like make it any disadvantage to you because you are competing for the school. So you would have that signed off, and then during the week that you were going to be traveling, they would get sent a reminder from your academic advisor as well. So they were very aware that we were going to be away competing for however long. And then we would, if it was a cross country race, a lot of the time we would be getting into a van or a bus ride that's probably kind of far away, like driving sometimes 8 hours to a race. Sometimes we would be flying. It just depended on where the race was. And you would get there like a day before the race or 2 days before the race. So you can also have time to go check out the course you're going to be running on, do like some pre-meet stuff kind of there. And you would just do everything with your team. Like everything will be set up for you. Yeah.
Awesome. Were you enjoying life at the airport, mucking around? Yep. Or were you studying or what was that like?
Yeah, I feel like you would definitely have to be doing some studying in the airport on these long bus rides. Sometimes they were 10 hours long there, and then you do your race, and then the next day, like the day of the race, you still have to drive 10 hours back, and you're getting home at like 3 in the morning. So that was definitely, you got used to sleeping on buses a little bit, but they tried to make it as best they could. Like we would be eating dinner sometimes just in the bus because you want to get back as soon as possible. But yeah.
Awesome. Just going to pause there. We've got a question from a parent, and the question is, did you have flatmates in your apartment? With all your training, did you feel like you had enough time to study? Also, do the both summer track seasons as well as the winter cross country seasons, etc. Like, how did that all work?
Okay. Wait. So the first question was roommates.
You have to get flatmates in your apartment.
Yeah. So in my first apartment that I did at my first school, I had three other roommates. So there was four of us, and then you had two bathrooms in there, and then you had like a lounge and a kitchen area. And then in my second school, there was just two people to an apartment, and you had your own bathroom, and then you just shared a kitchen and a living area. And I loved my apartment at my second school. We had a pool, which was lovely, and your teammates would probably be your next door neighbors in these apartment complexes. So like you could just walk over and go hang out with your friends like pretty much whenever you wanted, and it was always great. Okay, and then what was the second question?
One was, with all the training that you did you have enough time to study? That's a great
Yeah,
question.
definitely. I feel like you take a little bit. I think that's why it's nice that they have the study hall hours your first semester because you have to do it, and it allows you to kind of plan out your schedule a little bit more. And when you're going to these classes, you're not necessarily going to these classes for like a super long time. Like I usually would have max 3 classes a day on a busy day, and these classes would probably be only like 50 minutes or an hour 15. So like in terms of time you're actually in class, it wasn't a whole lot. Sometimes we would have night labs. That was when you'd get kind of a little bit busier because those would be like 3 hours long, and they'd be like from 6 till 9 p.m. And then you have to come home, go to sleep, go to practice really early in the morning. But you definitely do have time. You just have to like make sure you know when you have things to do. Be very on top of like when you're doing everything. And that's why you have these academic advisors and you have to check in with them. I think we had meetings, I want to say like every 2 weeks, and you have to check in with them and make sure you're doing everything you need to, you're on top of your schoolwork. Yeah. And then like if you're not, they obviously try and help you in any way they can.
Awesome. Did you use any like management softwares to help track your days or to prepare for assignments or anything like that? Or do you just kind of just, are you just a class individual and you just got it all here?
No, no, no. I'm like a planner person. Like I have to write it down, and like as I do things, I get to cross it off, and I'm like, yes, that's one thing done. Like I'd be like, I have to go for a run this day. Obviously, we had to run basically every day, but I would still write it down, so I had something to cross off my planner.
Awesome. That's really good to know. Getting back, oh, the last question, sorry, we've got here. Did you do both the summer track season as well as the winter season in cross country?
Yeah, so we would do that. So we were busy all year round. So like you get a small break, depending on when we'd finish cross country season. So when you're in cross country season, you compete at the conference level, the regional level, and the national level. So depending on when your team ended up finishing their season and making it through to like the next lot of races, you would have like probably a week maybe of completely off running, or at my second school, we would just do a week of like jogging, and then you go straight back into training for the next season. So you definitely are competing all year round, but we would have one day off a week where you don't have to run. So that's like with every school, it's like an NCAA rule, like you cannot run and train every day because that's just too much for anyone. So, I mean, a lot of people would run on those, but nothing is compulsory. So for us, we had at my first school Saturdays off, and that meant you didn't have to go to practice or anything. But at my second school, we had Wednesdays off, and I was always like, oh, okay, well, I still have to go to class. This isn't really an off day, but it was nicer because you had so much time to do practice on the Saturdays, so it worked out well.
Awesome. And last question before we go into how the whole transfer process worked. Did you have a job while studying in America for 4 years? Because on an F1 visa, you can work on campus part time. It's illegal to do that. Did you have a job there, or did any of your teammates have jobs here on campus?
No, I did not, but definitely like some of my teammates definitely did. I not.
Fair enough. That's all good. My one of my athletes, I went to go visit him when he was playing Division I college soccer. This was actually the time that my brother had all the offers in 2017 because he was playing the Junior US Open, and one of my clients, he was playing soccer at a school called Seton Hall University, which is in New Jersey. It's like half an hour train ride from Penn Station in Manhattan. And he was working at Dunkin' Donuts, so I got some free coffee from him. Don't recommend it, to be honest. Are you a coffee drinker tomorrow?
No.
So yeah, no problems in the US because I know the coffee there ain't the best. But look, you were at Central Arkansas, and I know it's a great school. One of my friends is actually the former Division I college coach for golf there, and now he's in recruitment. And it's a great school. There's a lot going on there, which is awesome. Why did you decide to transfer, and like, how did you go about that process?
Yeah, so I transferred at also kind of a weird time. So like I transferred during the like in December to start a new school in January. So it was kind of a weird time, but I decided to transfer. Just I had improved a bit more than when I arrived. Like I was getting a lot better, and I wanted to be able to like try and make the most out of my time in America and get as good as I could. I'm not going to get another opportunity like that again, so I thought it was a good time to allow myself some time to adjust to new training and also like enjoy the time at a new school. So I would get a little bit of time at a new school. So I decided to transfer. The whole process of transferring is kind of interesting. You get put in a portal, they call it the transfer portal, and that just allows like any coach who wants to can reach out to you and you can reach out to them. But it's kind of a nice feeling because a lot of coaches just start reaching out to you and you're like, wow, like thank you, like that's really nice. Um, so that was exciting just to hear like lots of schools were interested, and then from there I could just talk to whoever I wanted, go on some visits, which was really nice because when I first went over to America I didn't do any visits and actually like get a good feel of the program and like the day-to-day life that these girls were living, and just having more like just more knowledge about it when I was going into another school.
Visits are a cool thing, and it gives you a great opportunity to see what the university's about, get that gut feeling. It's like buying a house. Like my parents at the moment are trying to buy a property in Auckland, and I've been driving around Auckland like a maniac, viewing properties for them. And you see something online and you're like, looks pretty good, and you're like, nah, not keen. For you, was that an advantage for you being in the US? And also, did you have to pay for your flights to go visit these schools, or was it official visits where the university that was trying to recruit you flew you out?
Yeah, so they were official visits. So the schools were paying me to go visit their school, and like that was awesome because you got to like stay and meet all the people on the team and everything like that. So that was great. Like visits, I think allow you to just really get a good feel of like the coaches and everything because obviously like you say with like the house situation, it is a business as well. Like these coaches will tell you what you want to hear, and sometimes everything could sound amazing, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily what you're definitely going to get. So it was really nice to be able to experience that myself and figure out like, are they telling me the truth? Like, is that exactly what I get? Like, and just hear from a lot of the people on the team as well because they would give you their opinions about it as well.
Do you mind telling me? I haven't asked you this question before. I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you mind telling me what schools you visited?
Yeah, so my when I was transferring, I visited the University of Tulsa, which I ended up going to. I visited the University of Bradley, and then I visited Mizzou.
Oh, no way. Cool. And I need a soccer coach there and the tennis coach at Bradley. Those are two very strong academically sound programs as well.
Yeah,
Must have been a really tough decision. I know Tulsa had a couple of Kiwis. There's a guy called Bailey that used to work for me. He still makes it,
yeah,
but he ran there and he loved it. He was telling me all about it. He's got the coolest photos from there. Now, being at Central Arkansas, where you've been sisters with the girls in your team, and you got on so well with them, now going and doing it all over again, and not knowing many people at Tulsa, how was that adjustment for you?
yeah. So it was a little bit of an adjustment, but it was nice. They had already met some of the girls who were on the team. So, and some of the girls on the team had also transferred to Tulsa a semester before me. So they were very like, I've been through this situation. I would love to help you in any way I can. So that was really nice. But going from like being with these girls every single day to then being with a new group was really weird because you would also race against them. And like some of like the regional races or any like big cross country race, I would race them or see them at races. And obviously that's kind of a weird feeling, but I think like being a part of a new team gave me a new opportunity to become like better in terms of my running and anything like that. So I mean, it was definitely like a little bit of a weird feeling sometimes being in the race with them, but they were all super nice and like supported me and like was super encouraging when I was doing good in a race or anything like that. So it was okay.
That's amazing. What school had the better facilities?
Oh, okay. Well,
I
Central
don't want
Arkansas.
I don't want to get you in trouble like at
No,
all, but
no, Central Arkansas was a bigger school. Like it definitely had more people. The University of Tulsa is a very small school. So like I I don't know, like in terms of the facilities at Tulsa, they were so nice, but we would also not use all of the facilities. Like we had our own kind of like weight room area that wasn't associated with like the weight room that everyone else used because we just had one near the track that was just for us. So they were just very different. I don't know. I mean, they're both great compared to what I had in New Zealand. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I can't complain.
and I know like when I read your CV when you sent that through last month, you've been competing in Europe as well. Was those connections through some of your teammates that you competed with? Have you got connections now all over the world because you had international teammates?
Yeah, I had a lot of international teammates, especially at my second school. I remember like you get like all American awards for doing well in cross country. And we thought it was really funny because our boys team did really well at nationals one year. I think they came sixth. But like no one on the team was American. They were all internationals, but they're all classified as all American. So we thought that was kind of funny in that sense. But yeah, I had a lot of teammates who were German, so I was able to go over and compete there for the last, I want to say, 3 summers I've done it. So I've gone over there and competed, which has been a really cool experience to compete again internationally and like experience a different kind of racing. We have a lot of teammates who are international, so I feel like you have a little place to go like everywhere, and a lot of them are in Europe. So I'm excited for them all to come to me in New Zealand soon, hopefully. But yeah, I've had an awesome opportunity being able to like go and compete in all these different places.
It's amazing the connections that you make and how close you become with your teammates. Last year in December, I got invited to one of my athletes' 21st, and he's a soccer player from Auckland. His name is Kaya Ronganui, And Kaya is at Fairfield University, which is a Division I school up in the Northeast, and they're doing amazing. And when at his 21st, his American teammates came over to surprise him, which was so awesome. And just to see that brotherhood and to see how close they are and the connection that they've made is incredible, because that's something like, I mean, even myself going into high school, you become quite good mates with people, but at university, like those are my best friends, people that I
Yeah.
never knew before. Do you find that that's similar for you?
Yeah, like a lot of my teammates are like getting married now, and they're all like sending me like the invites and stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to go. I don't necessarily want to fly 30 hours to get there again, but I want to be there, and it's great. And like we still have group chats and talk to them all the time, which is really nice.
Couple more questions before we wrap up. I don't want to keep people too late. And also, my mum is going to start yelling at me soon if I don't go upstairs for dinner. So I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. First question: did you find that you became a better athlete at the end of your college experience?
So yeah, definitely like the times I ran before I went versus the times I ran when I left. I definitely drastically improved. And I think that's nice with running because it's very objective. Like you can see the progress as you go. So yeah, definitely a bit faster than when I went over.
And actually, I'm going to ask you two more questions. I'm just going to keep adding to this. The second, people are here; they want to know this stuff. The second question: how did you deal with homesickness? Because it's natural to be homesick. It happens to everyone. I know guys that are pro athletes that are 25, 26 years old that when they travel, they miss home. How did you deal with that?
So I was in America for 5 years, and I only came home twice during my 5 years, which is very, I think, feel like a little bit uncommon. Maybe most people usually come back a little bit more regularly than that. But in the sense of like my first school, I had someone from home with me. So whenever I was like homesick or anything like that, we would be like, hey, we're going out just us two and we're going to do something. But also, like, I would just call my family. I would have usually like on a Sunday would be a day where I have a lot of time and I'm free more. I have a lot more time to like call them or anything like that. So I would always make sure just to call them. In my second school, I didn't have obviously someone from New Zealand with me, so I was actually probably more homesick sometimes. But I feel like we had a lot of internationals, so they were experiencing the same thing. So you kind of just would speak about it, and yeah.
That's great. That's great information. Good insight. And the last one: what is a bit of piece of, or some pieces of, I can't even speak English right now. It's been a long day. I've just driven from Auckland to New Plymouth. What is some bit of advice you can give everyone here listening today that are young athletes wanting to go through that process? Things that you've learned along the way.
Feel like you have to really enjoy what you're doing to be able to go so far away from home and do it, and also enjoy that like the process of going through everything, like the training every day. Because if you do something like going to America, you are going to spend a lot of time training, a lot of time talking about your sport because you're with your teammates all the time. I feel like it's just important to know what you want out of the time over there, because a lot of people sometimes just want to go to America to get their school paid for. A lot of people want to go and run as fast as they can, or jump or throw as far as they can, like anything like that. And just like knowing what you want out of that experience, it is a really cool experience, and I'm glad I've had it. And I don't know, I feel like just when you're like happier, you end up competing well and doing better. So it's just important to like make sure you're happy with your situation you're in, and that's why it's important to like speak with these coaches and get an understanding of what you want and what they want out of you.
Awesome advice. One more question from a parent. I've heard about summer camps. Are there track camps for prospective student athletes in America?
Yeah, I think a lot of schools, my schools didn't do that, but I know a lot of schools do like some summer camps, especially with like distance running, especially. I feel like a lot of schools post about them on their Instagrams, and then you just can register online and stuff like that. That's not something I have done or have much experience in, but I definitely know it's a thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tamar. I really appreciate you jumping on here and sharing your journey with all of these student athletes and parents. And I know it's going to go such a long way for them. I mean, as we talked about as a team the other day, Tamara, like, Platform Sports is built on transparency, honesty, and making sure that we're super loyal. And I think this ticks off the transparency pillar for sure. Some athletes here would love to probably connect with you. So are you going to send them an email after this just with your booking link? Is that how it's going to go?
Yes, I will. I will send that in. happy to answer any questions about any of the processes.
Cool. And if you guys are interested in working with Tamara and with Platform Sports and joining our team, on that call, it's a free meeting with Tamara. She will go through your academics, she'll go through your sports resume, and she can tell you what kind of scholarship and where you would fit within the college system. And that's completely free. And if it's something that you want to do, we can take that conversation further from there. Thank you so much for your time, Tamara. Really appreciate it. You're a legend. And hope you have a great Easter weekend. And for everyone watching, travel safe if you're heading away. Look after each other. And to the athletes here that are listening, thank your parents, because without them, you wouldn't get these opportunities. So make sure you do that. It's something that some people miss. But appreciate your time, and we'll chat offline. Cool. Thank you.